Welcome to the world of the coil pot. So we've got some new tools. Now we're doing things a little bit differently, so we're going to get a sneak peek in how to make slabs. So I'll go over the tools very quickly here. So we've got a couple of tools. This is called a clay board. Okay, it's wood that's wrapped in canvas. Okay, and most of the time you want your clay board to be fairly clean, so if you've got little bumps, you can take, this is called a rib. So a rib has, it looks like the clay tool, except there's no ridges. And this is used for smoothing, and it's very flexible. So what you can do is you can just kind of scrape it off a little bit, like so. Get all the big chunks off there, because if there's chunks on it, your slab that you're going to roll out will have dents in it. Okay. All right, so you've got the clay board. Now you'll need a rolling pin. They come in two sizes, a small one and a larger one. Okay. And I also have what I call my sideboards. Okay, now these are just pieces of wood. There's two sizes. Again, there's a short size and a longer size to match up with the long thing. And what this does is when I get ready to roll my slab, I put these on either side of the clay. My clay will be here, and I'm going to roll it out. But these prevent the slab from getting any thinner than this. Okay, so that's about as thin as we ever want the clay for our purposes. Okay. So that way it won't get too thin. If it gets too thin, then it will be very fragile and it's not going to stand up very well. Okay, so I've got my clay, my sideboards, my rolling pin, and my clay board. Now the rolling pins get lots of clay on them, so just like before, you could take a scoring tool with the flat side, make sure it's the flat side, or you can do the rib tool because it always has flat sides. And I'm just going to scrape this off a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're really worried about it, you can actually like wash this off in the sink and dry it, but that's pretty good. Okay, and then I can just tap those there and we'll clean those off in a little bit. Okay, so I put my sideboards down. This piece of clay is probably a little too big. So, well, let's go ahead and use the whole thing. Okay, now, we're flattening this, so don't beat on it, don't slam on it. You do not hit it with the clay tools. Okay, we're just going to simply roll it out. So I'm going to just take my roller, and I'm just going to roll it a little bit, back and forth. You may want to press it down a little bit with your hand first, and I'm not going to roll it all the way out. I'm going to do that. So now I'm going to do, so after you've rolled it a little bit, you need to lift it off, and it comes right off. So make sure you lift. Two things: when you lift and you put it back down, you can still stretch the clay. If you don't lift it up, it's going to stop stretching because it's sticking to the clay board. Okay, so I can do one of two things. I can rotate the board, put my sideboards here, or I can rotate my clay. Okay, I have to pick it up either way. Okay, so now I want it to be this way. Okay, so then I can roll it out this way. So I'm going to roll. As you can see, it stretches. Okay, then I'm going to lift it up again, and I'm deciding that it's wide enough, so I'm going to keep rolling this way. Okay, and I'll lift it up one more time, and that seems about right. Now this side is nice and smooth, but if I flip it over, it's got ridges and things like that. Now, to get rid of those, I can hold it in my hand. I can take my rib that has, I like the metal ribs the best, but any rib will work. Okay, and then back behind the tools where you have the knife tools, and I can just kind of scrape it like this to get rid of those lines and to smooth it out. Okay, but this is going to be the bottom of my pot. This is going to be the base, so it's not as important. Okay, if you want it to be nice and smooth on the bottom, you can use this side as your bottom. So now we're going to draw a pretty good circle. So drawing circle time. Okay. So I've got my knife tool, and when cutting slabs, I like all my tools to be clean, so you can just, again, take the rib and scrape it off, or even a thumbnail work, but I like the rib. So it's nice and sharp, and I'm going to draw a circle. Now you want a circle about 3 to 4 inches in diameter, roughly about that, okay? Now I'm not gonna bring out, I don't have anything to trace around it, so you gotta do it yourself. So the one thing you can do is just kind of put a little dot right there, barely, and imagine. Okay, and I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to just kind of go around, and imagine there's that point there, and I'm just going to put my thing down. And I'm going to come back this way, okay? It does not have to be perfect, does not have to be perfect. So I've got my circle in there. So now I'm just going to cut it out. So I'm just going to kind of cut it on my line. If it's a little over, that's fine. We can always finesse it back. And when you're cutting the slab, make sure, whoops, you have lifted it first. Okay, so we can just kind of lift it up. And now I have cut out my base for my pinch pot, and you can come around and clean these up by just dragging it with your finger. Remember, don't use water. Get off the little edges there. And I've got the base for my pinch pot.